All right. The stamp set I'm going to use is called Grassy Grove, and I know I get a lot of reflection from my light here, so let me see what I can do to try to get rid of that. Maybe I can't. I'll just chase it around. It's called Grassy Grove, and it's a really nice stamp set with, you can see a lot of things that are appropriate for this time of year. Trees, deer hunting season is on us, right? At least here in Michigan. I don't know if other states is the same. But we're going to use this stamp set, and we're going to use some of these dies, and particularly this largest die here, and the trees. And I will use this one as well. Now, I am not going to do all the stamping and all the die cutting for this because since I am so slow, we would be here all morning. And if you are watching live, I know you've got better things to do than watch this. So I have pre-cut and pre-embossed items that need to be done. So I'm just going to set this aside because I don't need this for today. And I will bring in my bits and pieces that are all pre-cut and pre-ready. So I've got my acrylic sheet, and I'm cheating a little bit. You can see it's probably just a portion of a sheet, not the whole card. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to use that. And then I have a couple of these that are the grassy knoll, I'll call it, with some bushes on it from the bottom of the stamp set that I've embossed with white embossing powder on soft succulent cardstock. I have 2 of those. I have a couple of these trees here that are also embossed on white, with white embossing powder on evening evergreen cardstock. And then I have a cute little deer. So those are the bits and pieces that we're going to need to make this card. So let me show you how I did this. The first thing I'm going to do is adhere this particular die cut. It is made out of shimmery white, and I'm not sure how well that shows up under all these lights, but it is very shimmery. I wanted it to look a bit like snow, which we've had quite a bit of here in the last week or so, but it's mostly gone now. And I'm going to adhere this to the front of this window sheet. Now, the trick of doing this, and I am going to bring in something else to do this on because I don't really want to get my glue on my work surface. So I'll use my silicone sheet, but because this is a little bit big, it may get over the edge. So I've brought in this other sheet too. And the way I like to do this is I use liquid adhesive and I add a bit of a pile to my silicone mat. And then I take a sponge and get a small amount on there, tamp a lot of it off, and just kind of adhere it around the outside. You don't really need it everywhere. It actually sticks pretty well to this acrylic sheet. So we get this inked up all the way. And the reason I do this is because I could use snail, my favorite. I'm not particularly a green blue person, but the reason I like to do this is because whatever you put on the back here is going to show through. And this tends not to show through as much. It's kind of like when you adhere to vellum, something to vellum. It's the same method. Just use that sponge with a little dab of glue. Now, it is a little bit hard to see to get this aligned because it's clear. And all these lights really don't help. But that's pretty good. So let me press that on there. And you can see that on the back. Now I got a little bit of fuzz in there, and maybe you can see that. But you don't, if I had put snail here, you would definitely see the snail. So that's why I use that method to to apply the piece on the front. Now, I also want to take my bone folder. I scored this with my this acrylic sheet or window sheet. I scored it with my Stampin' Cutter. And when you do it, you barely can tell that it's scored. It doesn't score real well. So you need to take a bone folder and really work this to get your crease. And now you can see it'll never get flat totally. I don't think. I've never been able to get it flat totally, but that's okay because when you set it up, it kind of helps hold it open. So that's as good as we want that. Now I'm going to take one of these embossed pieces of ground cover, we'll call it, and I did it with white so it looked like snow. And you can see it's too long, and I did that for a reason, just a helpful hint, is because now I can figure out exactly where I want this. I got a little room to move it around and figure out where I want to see it. So I kind of like it right about there because then I can see a little bit more of this bush over here. I could go a little more to the left if I wanted, but I think I'm going to leave it right about there. And I'm going to hold this temporarily here in my hand. I'm lining it up on the bottom. And I'm going to hold this here to try to position where I want the deer. And you can see that I'm doing this all on the back side of the window sheet. So where do I want to stick the deer? I kind of want him, I don't know if I want his feet to show too much. So I want him to look like he's behind the trees. And I apologize for the glare. It makes it difficult, but I think somewhere right about there, maybe just a little higher so his head's above the bushes a little bit more. Now I'm going to gently take the top part off and memorize where I put him. And I will use a little glue on the back. Now again, I want to make sure the glue is only below this, not up here on his head, or it'll stick to the inside of the card. So I'm basically going to glue his belly and his legs. You can see I am not a green glue person. It is not my favorite glue. It's messy, and I tend to get it all over my hands. Okay, and if you don't remember exactly where it was, you can always bring your front back in and kind of lay it where you were going to lay it and eyeball it. So his head was right above this approximately. So that's where I'm going to stick him. Okay, and then before it dries, I can stick it back there just to make sure. And I've got some movement, like I said, I can slide the bottom one. That's kind of where I want him, right about there. So now I am going to put my liquid glue away. And I'm going to get out my snail. I am a snail girl. And I am just going to glue this to the bottom edge. And roll that over a little bit. And now I'm going to stick them behind here, and I'm going to line the bottom up with the bottom of the card and just press that down. Now, because I made this a little long, we have to go in and we have to snip this off, but that's easy enough. We can just use the paper to guide us, right? Oh, I didn't bring a place to throw my trash. That's not good. All right, we'll trim this side. All right, I'm going to go back here just a bit because I want a little bit more. I can see it from the front, so I'm just going to trim that a little bit more so it doesn't show from the front. Okay, So now this portion, I'm gonna get rid of this gluey thing because it does have glue on it. That completes the front of your card. And now we're going to make the back part of your card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of shimmery white. I did use shimmery white for the inside as well. No particular reason. You could use basic white, but I wanted it to look similar in color. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere this piece to this flap. So the easiest way to do that is just to add some adhesive here on the back and then tuck it in there. And you kind of got to know how far it's going to go in. So probably a piece right about here. Okay. Now I want to take that and tuck that in as far as it'll go. Get it lined up as best you can, and then push this down. Now that doesn't look so good for the back of your card, but that's okay. Here you can see, maybe, hopefully, bring it up. Now can you see the snail on there? So if I had adhered this piece to the front of the acrylic sheet or window sheet, I would have seen that everywhere in here. Now this doesn't look so good, and I might do something later to fix that because I stamped him on the back. You can also put in, always die cut another one and just lay it over top. But we're not going to worry about that right now. So now we have a full card, but I want to put something on the inside because we're going to see that through here too. So let's add another layer of this bushy stuff. And I want to offset it just a bit so it looks a little different than the front. I want it a little bit higher. Mainly higher. Not a lot, just maybe 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch or so. And we'll figure out where that goes. So that's going to go approximately right here. So I've got a little more than 2 above. So let's just go ahead and glue that down. The thing about working with window sheets is you always have to think about what am I going to see? How am I going to see it through the window sheet? So I think that was approximately right there. I'll put it down lightly and check it. Yeah, I think I want it down just a little bit more because I need some room for my sentiment. Okay, that's better. Although it's a little crooked. Let's see if I can straighten that out. Easy way to do that if you have a hard time getting things straight is to lay it on your grid paper. And if you align it over here with a line, then align it the same over there, and then it's pretty straight. Okay, that'll work. Now, I do want a little sentiment in here, and it's just barely going to fit. So in order to figure out where I need to put that, I am going to take my pencil and I am going to lift this up and mark about where the top of my sentiment needs to be so that I can see it through the window. Now it's just a pencil mark, so it'll erase, or I just stamp over top of it and you didn't even know I put it there. Okay, and I have soft suede ink here, and this is the little thank you stamp that is part of the Grassy Grove stamp set. I always like to look at the back to make sure it's inked well and that I don't have a lot of ink around the edges, which tends to be a challenge for me sometimes. So here's my mark. So I'm going to get the top of it about right there, and I just made it. Right? Okay. So let's look. How bad is it? Oh, pretty good, right? I can just see that just through there. So that is actually all the stamping we have on this card. And you can tell since I opened this up, it wants to pop back up. So we may want to crease this a few more times. And now I'm going to add a couple of trees on the inside just to sort of set off the sentiment. And when I do that, you will see these through the front. You can see them through the little peek holes that it adds just a little bit to the front. So let's go ahead and adhere those down. It doesn't matter too much where you put them. Sometimes it's kind of nice to look where you are relative to the trees in the front. If you want to see both stems, then you can kind of get an idea of where you want it. And since I have adhesive on there already, I can just push that down. It should be approximately where I want it, at least side to side. So let's bring that up there. Okay. And then we'll put a little adhesive on this one as well. And we'll add this. I'll put this one just a little higher so it looks, just adds a little interest on the inside, and I'll just space it about the same to the thank you. So that is the card. Nope, I take that back. It's not quite the card. We still got this mess back here to deal with. It doesn't look so good, right? So because this card I actually made, instead of our standard 5.5 by 4 1/4, this is actually 5 1/4 by 4. I have evening evergreen backing that I can adhere this to make it a full-size card. And it does finish it off a little bit, right? But the worst part is the worst part. The main part is done. So, we will add adhesive on here. And center this on the evening evergreen. And now we will call it good. And see, when you close the card, I hope you can see that. When you close the card, you get some depth through that window sheet. So it looks like there's something in the background, and there is, when you open it up, there is something in the background. The other tip on this is when you go to send it to somebody, because please send your cards, pay attention to where you're writing your message. In this case, you're either going to want it to be way up here at the top, or probably better yet, just write your little note to and from down here. It's a good card if you don't have a lot to say. Now what you could do is you could add a Very Vanilla. This is made with Very Vanilla. Well, Shimmery White. I take it back. You could add a piece of either Basic White or Very Vanilla on the back. And write your longer message there. So that's always an option too. But I hope you can see that. I know I'm getting a lot of glare. But you can see that there's some, it's probably one of the few cards I've made where I didn't use dimensionals. I'm kind of a dimensional-aholic, but there's none here because you get the depth from the front and the back of the card. So that's the card I'm going to make for you today. Here's my envelope. I just added a couple trees. And I have one more to show you. It's a little bit different. This card is actually a sneak peek of a Celebration stamp set that will be coming in January, 1st of January. It's called Beautifully Happy. Isn't that pretty? It's got lots and lots of flowers, two-step stamping. So you stamp the outline image, and then you can stamp the flowers. And it's also got some great greetings. This will be a Celebration item available for free with a $100 purchase starting the first part of January. And then this card also uses some designer series paper, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. It's called Dry Brush Metallic, and it is gorgeous. It is just beautiful. This particular one is, the colors are a blue and soft succulent. The colors on here, it says, are Cajun Craze, Petal Pink, and Soft Succulent. It doesn't tell you what this blue is, but it's really pretty. So with my card, I used Pool Party. There is a second color in here. If you would like to see that, I can pull that partially out here just quick a minute. And this is the Cajun Craze and Petal Pink. Isn't that pretty? Such pretty paper. That is an item coming in the mini, the January through April mini. And this is a card I made using that stamp set and a window sheet and that designer paper. So I did it a little bit different. My card base is Pool Party. It is from here to here is the card base, so that is 5 1/4. Actually, I think it's 5, and this is 4 1/4 plus 3/4, so it's 5. And this is a 3/4 inch strip here, where I scored it here. But then I just covered the strip. So then I adhered the window sheet, which is the centerpiece, obviously. I adhered that to this flap on this side. And then I measured over 4 1/4 and laid another strip of Pool Party and adhered it to this side of the window sheet. So the whole center part is window sheet. I hope you can see that. And I also covered the inside. Next time, I think I would not use dimensionals. Like I said, I'm a dimensional holic, so I use dimensionals to attach all of these items on the front. I think I would just adhere them with the sponge and liquid adhesive like I showed you for this Grove, because you wouldn't then see these dimensionals back here. But it's still pretty and it's fun. And then on the inside, this is one of the sentiments. I stamped the smaller flower and there's this cute little bee, and I positioned them so that when I close the front, you can see the flower and the bee up there. So that's the second window sheet card I have to share with you today. So I hope you like that. I hope I didn't take too long. Flip back over here and wrap it up and say goodbye, and let you go check your turkey. So have a happy Thanksgiving and a great weekend. And Kathy will be back next week with a great new idea, tips, or technique. Have a good one. Bye-bye.